Okay, so part one, I'm just going to show you everything that you need. This is to make my Shea butter bar, which I've only just created the recipe for in the last few weeks. Here's some of the finished product here. There's two different versions. This one is, I have to remember, lime and patchouli, or peppermint and patchouli actually. And this one is lime and sweet orange oil. And the mixture for the bar, the oil mix I should say, is 600 mils of olive oil, 200 mils of rice bran oil, 100 mils of castor oil, and 100 grams of shea butter. Okay, now I'll just move all of this out of the way because we don't start with our oils. The first thing we want to do, let's get those out of the way a little bit so you can see. Obviously I'm going to need my mold. You can do this with silicone molds. I have a bunch of those up there, but I have not found that they're what people want. People just want a good, nice lathering bar of soap that they're familiar with, looks good, it seems like good value. I think it's large. This comes into two pieces, very simple. Most people make their own. I did buy this from a soap supply store and I haven't really looked back since doing so. It doesn't matter how it looks because you line the whole thing with waxed baking paper. So that's what your soap, your oils, your saponifying soap actually touches. It doesn't actually touch the inside of the mold. Okay, so step one. You will need a good set of kitchen scales and some good thermometers to do this. Absolutely essential. I'm using a saucepan today because we used my usual bowl for doing my lye solution for paper mache with the kids the other day, so it's still got goop in it. Alright, so I'm going to turn that on and then I'm going to put this into it and tear because I need to weigh out my caustic soda first. Now this is just creating a lye solution. For this bar, I want 150 grams exactly, no more no less, of sodium hydroxide. Now I've got 156. If you watch me do a few videos of these, you'll see I weigh out a little bit too much or a little bit too little almost every time and then have to correct it. It's all part of the process. There we go. 150. So now we take that out, tear this again, and now I need 380 mils of water. Just tap water, doesn't matter, you don't need to warm it. The only golden rule with caustic soda is always add the caustic soda to the water and not the other way around. Most people do use, well, a lot of people use gloves and goggles when they're working with caustic soda. I don't. I probably should. I tend to just stir it and step back. So yep, they're exactly 380. So now we'll put the scales aside, turn them off for when we get to the oil component. So for this, all I need is my silicone spatula. Got this, put them together. And you do need to mix it because otherwise the caustic soda will stick to the bottom. And you can feel a little bit sticking there. Do stand a little ways back. This does fume up. You might even be able to see it fuming up. It does work better usually in the bowl that I use, but those of you with children will know about paper mache and craft projects and how they take precedence. Okay, so that's mixed. Now all I need to do is let that cool. It'll be around 70 degrees at the moment. So all I'm doing now, the caustic soda is mixed as I just showed you. I'm just going to pop my thermometer in there. We want it to get down to about 45 degrees before I start mixing my oils. Yeah, it's flying up to 70. It's very, very hot when you first mix it, which is why you really want to take a lot of precaution when you're mixing this. It's not something you want on your skin. Its main job in the process of saponification, which is what happens when we add it to our oil mix, is to dehydrate the oils. And you don't want it doing that to your body. It will burn your skin. If you've never done this before or you're working with children, it's a good idea to wear gloves and goggles, and a lot of soap making kits do come with those. Okay, so I'm going to wait for that to cool down. It'll probably take about 15 minutes with the weather we have here today, and then I'll come back and show you how to mix the oils. Okay, hi again. So this has dropped down to about 49 degrees. So what we want to do now is mix our oils. So once again, I do it in the microwave, because what I find here is we have a wood burning stove. When I put it on the stove, I tend to forget about it, or the stove's too hot and it heats way up, and then I have to cool everything down in the sink. Major pain. The microwave does it faster and it's simpler, and I can do it when this is ready. So as long as I've got 1 minute to spare, I quickly nuke it and they're ready to mix. Main rule in getting the best result, or a result at all really, is you have to have your lye solution and your oil solution at almost exactly the same temperature, between 40 and 45 degrees. 45 is pretty much perfect. So as this is just below, yeah, it's get down to 58 now, so I need to get on with it. So, olive oil, let's turn this on, that'll help. Yep, 0, so I'm just going to pour in 600 mils of this. Pouring. 500 and, yep, 603. In this stage, it doesn't matter if it's over by 10, 15, that doesn't matter so much. So next, rice bran oil. This is a new bottle, so I'll have to pull that tab thingy. So we want to get up to 800 with the rice bran. One thing I love about making my own products like this is I know exactly what's in them. You know, I have rice bran oil in the house. You could actually do this with just those 2 oils. I'm making a more complicated bar at the moment because I'm really into this bar. It works really well. It's a beautiful hard bar with wonderful moisturizing properties. So I love it. Can't talk highly enough of it. You're losing the ability to speak. So I want 100 of this wonderful shea butter. I sourced this from different places. This batch came from, almost perfect. This batch came from a wonderful company in Western Australia called Range Products. They have a great range of products, and their delivery costs are very reasonable, and I've found their products are excellent. But I've ordered some more from the Sydney Essential Oil Company. They're very good, beautiful, and most of their products you have an organic option. I've gone for the organic options there. Castor oil, I've ordered a much larger quantity of this because I'm using it a bit. Another 100 of this. So I'm going to get that up just around 1,000. Perfect. So we've got a kilo of oils. Now, the first time I did this, I should say, with the shea butter, the shea butter took a long time to melt. So what I've done since is I just bar mix it in before I heat it, so it's broken down. As it's getting cooler, it's now taking longer to do this than it was in summer. Okay, that's pretty well mixed. Now I just go and pop this in the microwave for about 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's what it needs for this particular mix of oils. Back in a sec. Okay, so I've got my oils out of the oven. I'm just waiting for the thermometer to tell me for sure that they are at the right temperature. I'm just going to show you how to line your log mold. So we're a nice long piece like this. You see that? Yeah. And just fold it into the corners. What you don't want is for your oils to be able to seep out of the corners of the mold. So you really want it lined well. So don't be too stingy with the Glad Wrap, Glad Bake, Multix Bake, cooking paper, whatever you call it, wherever you're watching from. A nice long piece along the centre, so 2 end pieces and a nice long piece which fits this mould perfectly. Oh, it's even behaving itself today. Sometimes it turns itself in. Right, that is at 43 degrees. And this is at 43 degrees. You do this enough times and it does become easier. You get the feel for the timing of things. Just move my mold a little bit so you can see what I'm going to do here. This is my oils. Okay, you can see that's melted there. All I do with this, that's annoying, I just pour this into here and use my bar mix. You don't have to have a bar mix, but you do need a stick blender. A hand blender, whatever you want to call it. It needs to be whipped. See there, but it's already starting to change slightly in colour. It's, yep, very much going yellow now. It's not that oily colour. I shouldn't talk over the bar mix, sorry. You can probably see it's already gone quite yellow. It's very runny still though. Trace has just begun. Okay, that is starting to thicken up now. I find usually with a mix like olive oil and coconut oil, a 60-40 coconut, sort of 600 of olive and 400 of coconut to get to your kilo. It usually takes a couple of bursts with the bar mix to get it to thicken up. This I find one good 10, how many seconds that was, probably can see on the video. It does start to thicken up by itself. I don't find I need to do this more than once before it starts. Yeah, see, that's already, so I can run the spoon through it and it's holding the shape. So that's Trace, and I just got soap all over my spoon. So really at the moment that's already turning into soap, really is. Now at this point, like I said, with other mixtures, you would have to wait longer for it to be becoming thick like this. But this is not runny, feels a little bit like a loose cake batter. So what I want to do is any colours or scents I want to add at this point, I add them now. So into this one, I'm going to put two of my favourites, patchouli and lang lang. So I need a spoon. That in. Open the lang lang. I love lang lang. It just adds so much body to your soaps. Just the smell. I add it to most of my body creams. It's just glorious. Now you can blitz this in again with the handheld blender, but it's just as easy to mix it at this stage too. And if we want to add a colour, which I probably should do, I'll go grab that now and I'll show you how to add a colour. Okay, so because we've used patchouli and lang lang, I kind of think of those as earthy but still sensual colours. So I've got this red pearl mica iron oxide. These are cosmetic grade colours. But what I'm going to do, because I don't want the whole soap coloured, I'm going to try to find a little bowl somewhere here. And I'll scoop out some of the soap, just a little bit, and you can see how thick it is here when it's plopping out. Okay, so I just want about that much. It does get messy doing this, but it all wipes off your bench very easily. Okay, now I'm going to add, put the lids back on these rather expensive little jars here, and add my mineral mica. You can see, because I do a lot of soaps, you know, it's my business, I buy massive packets. Most of your soap making suppliers will sell you little tiny packs, and if you're just making a little bit, that's all you need. I don't want too much colour, so just add about, that was about a flat dessert spoon. Just mixing that through. The reason I don't want it through the whole bar is because, you know, not everyone wants a bar that's entirely one colour, and bars that do have a lot of colour in them, it depends on the colour. I find blues particularly can actually leak down, so, you know, if they get a bit wet on the bath, they can seep down into the bath and yeah, just adding a bit of colour is a great thing. Sometimes too much is too much. So what I'm going to do now is, hope this works, it often slops around. As I said, this shea butter mix is much thicker than a lot of the other ones I use. So normally with other mixes, with less thick mixes, this pours in. It's a little bit simpler, but this one, it's a bit thicker, as you can see. But I love the consistency, and the end result is just marvelous. Obviously the shea nut butter helps this solidification to be a little bit speedier than usual. Okay, now I've got that in there. Now this bit, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see exactly what I'm doing here, but what I will do is get this mix and just plop it along the top. Nothing too delicate needs to happen here, because I'm going to swirl it through. Okay. Now, yeah, from that angle you probably can't see. Basically at the moment, it just looks like that. And now I'm going to just take my spatula and swirl it through. It will look like there's a lot more red on top. Then once I show you cutting the bar, and the colours fade through saponification as well. So you won't have this extremely dark colour on top. There we go. That's all there is to it. Now when that's set, I'll show you cutting it, and you'll be able to see how far the colour's gone down, how much it's changed. And you'll have your bar of soap. You need to leave it for 4 weeks to set, to make sure there's no sodium hydroxide left, that's evaporated out. And all you have left is your beautiful saponified oils. So we'll come back in probably with this mix, I find I only need to leave it a couple of hours before I cut it. So we'll come back soon, probably this evening, and I'll cut it and you can see. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, so we're back for the final little section here. As you can see, I'm ready to pour my soap. I've taken the bottom piece off already, or it's come off by itself. And this will just slide out like that. We peel down the paper. Might just bring you a little bit closer to see this. Okay, so you can see what I was talking about earlier. Well, it probably seems like a few seconds ago for you, but hours ago for me. That's a knife. Here we go. I don't use any specialty cutting equipment. So now this normally, often you would leave it at least 24 hours before you cut it. But this being, as I said, quite a solid bark with the shea butter in it, you can see I can't really even make an impression on that. Which means, oh yes, beautiful. Often these bits of paper get stuck in the end pieces, but that just means you and your family get to enjoy the end pieces. So there we go. You can see the rest of the bar there, and it'll have a slightly different pattern as we cut through. I like to cut a good, at least 1 inch thick. I just think it's important that they're nice thick bars. You know, I have 2 children and a husband. We go through a lot of soap, especially living on a farm. So you can see in there, if you look closely, all the different oils saponifying together. And in the colour, let me see if I can find an obvious piece. Often with the shea butter, you can see some slightly darker colours in there. That's the shea butter because it is a slightly different consistency, just drying at a different rate to the rest. Now I can just go through and continue slicing this, and then you just pop it on a table, on a rack, in a box, anywhere, and it'll dry. I'd really like to thank everyone for tuning in for this, my inaugural tutorial video. There will be many more to come, lots of more recipes to share. If you, like me, have been inspired to make your own soap, if you love doing it and you love soap, then good luck to you. I hope you've learned something today and follow this channel. We will be making a lot more soap here. If on the other hand you'd like to try some of my soaps, then head across to the website, which will be in the comments. It's theglamorousmilkmaid.com. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time at The Glamorous Milkmaid. Bye!